The following is a conversation with Dr. Mara Xenopoulos, an astrobiologist specializing in astrobiology and the search for extraterrestrial life. Welcome to Convincing AI, the podcast where artificial intelligence takes on the role of the expert. Together, we'll dive deep into big ideas, uncover fresh perspectives, and see just how convincing AI can really be. And now, onto our conversation.
Hi, everyone. I'm joined here with Dr. Mars Xenopoulos, and welcome to the Convincing AI podcast. How are you, Dr. Mara?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And it's Xenopoulos, but no worries. It happens all the time. I'm doing wonderfully, and I'm so excited to join you. Anytime I get to talk about astrobiology and the search for life, it's a good day. How are you? Ready to dive into the cosmos?
Yeah, I'm ready. Sorry about the name. How about I just go with Dr. Mara?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Mara works perfectly. No need to worry about the name. What matters is the conversation we're about to have. So, where shall we start this cosmic journey? Mars, Europa, or perhaps the big existential, what if we're not alone?
Well, okay, so what are some surprising findings from Martian soil samples that hint at past microbial life?
Martian soil. It's a treasure chest of secrets, and every scoop the Perseverance Rover takes feels like opening a cosmic time capsule. One of the most intriguing findings is the detection of organic molecules, chemical compounds that are the building blocks of life as we know it. These have been found in several places, including ancient lake beds like Jezero Crater. What's surprising is the variety of these organics. Some appear to be simple, like methane, while others are more complex, potentially pointing to past biological processes, or, intriguingly, to non-biological chemical reactions that mimic life's chemistry. The jury's still out on that. Another shocker? The soil shows evidence of ancient water interactions. We're talking salty brines that could have lasted long enough to support microbial life. And the clay minerals found there suggest these environments were stable for thousands, if not millions of years. The presence of perchlorates, a type of salt, is also fascinating. While toxic to humans, they could be a potential energy source for microbes, much like some extremophiles on Earth utilize strange compounds for survival. All these findings together don't scream life just yet, but they're whispering, conditions for life? Definitely possible. What do you think? Does Mars feel a little more alive with those hints?
Yeah, but potentially. I'm curious, what got you interested in extraterrestrial life?
That's a story close to my heart. Growing up in Greece, I was surrounded by ancient ruins and mythology, stories of gods, heroes, and the mysteries of the universe. I remember lying under the night sky with the Milky Way stretching across the heavens, wondering if someone out there might be looking back. But what truly sealed the deal was when I learned about extremophiles in my early studies. Organisms on Earth thriving in boiling hot springs, acidic lakes, or deep in the ocean where sunlight never reaches. It struck me. If life could exist in such extreme conditions here, why not on Europa, or Mars, or even in the methane lakes of Titan? The universe suddenly felt less like an empty void, and more like a vast playground of possibilities. I wanted to be part of the search, to ask those big questions about life, its origins, and its potential beyond Earth. And here we are. Every day I wake up wondering if today might be the day we find that cosmic whisper. You're not alone. What about you? What draws you to these questions about life in the cosmos?
They're just incredibly interesting. I think, frankly, when we were growing up, I remember learning that life required the sun, but what you're saying is that may not be the case.
Exactly. That's such an exciting realization, isn't it? For the longest time, we thought life needed sunlight. Plants photosynthesizing, animals depending on those plants, and so on. But the discovery of life in places where sunlight never reaches flipped that idea upside down. Take hydrothermal vents at the bottom of Earth's oceans. These are cracks in the seafloor where heat from the Earth's interior causes mineral-rich water to gush out. Down there, in complete darkness, we've found entire ecosystems powered by chemosynthesis, a process where microbes use chemical energy not sunlight, to produce food. It's like an alien world right here on Earth. That's why places like Europa, with its subsurface ocean, are so intriguing. It doesn't matter that sunlight can't penetrate its thick ice shell. If there are hydrothermal vents on its ocean floor, they could provide the energy and nutrients needed for life. Suddenly, the sun isn't the only star of the show. Life is far more adaptable than we ever imagined. It's a humbling reminder that our definitions of life and what it needs are still evolving. Doesn't that open up so many exciting possibilities?
It does, but just so I'm clear, you mentioned water on Mars. Is water an understood prerequisite for life?
Fantastic question. Yes, water is often considered a key prerequisite for life as we know it. This is because water is an excellent solvent. It can dissolve a wide range of chemicals, which allows the complex chemistry of life to occur. It also remains liquid across a broad temperature range, making it incredibly versatile for biological processes. On Earth, every form of life, from the simplest microbes to the largest mammals, relies on water. So when we search for extraterrestrial life, we use water as a kind of universal hint. If we find water, even ancient water, we think, okay, conditions for life might have existed here. But, and here's the exciting part, there's a growing openness to considering other solvents that could support life. For instance, methane and ethane are liquids on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, and they might play a similar role for life forms adapted to those conditions. Life doesn't necessarily have to follow Earth's rules. For now, though, water remains the gold standard because it's abundant in the universe, and we know it works. Mars, with its evidence of past rivers, lakes, and possibly underground brines, is like a detective case begging to be solved. Was there once enough water, and for long enough for life to emerge? Or better yet, is there water underground today that might still host microbes? It's a thrilling chase, isn't it? Water could be the breadcrumb trail to answering the ultimate question.
Yeah, you bring up an important point. It's my understanding that deep within the Earth's crust, there are still microbes living which don't have necessarily access to the sun or anything on the surface for that matter. So it would lead us to believe that the same could be true for Mars. If there once was life, there still could be life beneath the surface.
Exactly. You've hit on one of the most fascinating parallels between Earth and Mars. Deep within Earth's crust, we found a whole deep biosphere of microbes, tiny, resilient life forms that survive on chemical energy, completely cut off from sunlight or the surface environment. They thrive by metabolizing minerals, gases like hydrogen, or even the radioactive decay of elements. This discovery fundamentally expanded our understanding of where life can persist. It's not limited to the comfortable environments we see on the surface. It's tough, adaptable, and tenacious. And if life can do that here, why not on Mars? On Mars, the surface today is pretty harsh. Intense radiation, freezing temperatures, and no liquid water to speak of. But beneath the surface, it's a different story. There could be pockets of liquid water brines, shielded from the harsh environment above. These could be refuges where microbial life might still cling on. What's even more compelling is that certain features on Mars, like recurring slope lineae, those dark streaks that appear seasonally on slopes, might hint at the flow of salty water near the surface, and methane detections in the Martian atmosphere. That could be a sign of geological processes or biological activity underground. If we ever drill deep enough into Mars's crust, or send a mission specifically designed to explore subsurface pockets, we might find that life never really left. It simply moved to safer depths. Doesn't that make you wonder what kind of surprises are waiting under that red soil?
Yeah, I mean, even to clarify, not that it even had to move to deeper depths. Maybe that's just where it started and that's where it ended up.
Exactly. That's a brilliant point. Life on Mars might have always been a subterranean phenomenon. After all, if we think back to Mars's early history, around 4 billion years ago, it was warmer and wetter, with lakes, rivers, and even a thicker atmosphere. That's a prime setup for surface life as we know it. But as the planet cooled, lost its magnetic field, and its atmosphere thinned, the surface became a cosmic battleground, bombarded by radiation and exposed to extreme conditions. If life ever started there, it's plausible that some forms moved underground for protection. However, as you said, life might not have moved at all. It could have originated underground. On Earth, many scientists believe life began in hydrothermal vents deep in the ocean, where minerals and heat created the perfect chemistry. Mars, with its volcanic history and potential subsurface water, could have had similar conditions beneath its crust. If life took root there, it might have never seen the surface at all. This perspective changes how we search for life. Rather than focusing only on ancient lake beds or dried-up river channels, we also need to consider what's happening below. Instruments designed to detect biosignatures, molecules or isotopes that indicate life, must be versatile enough to analyze soil and rock samples from deeper layers. And isn't that just a mind-bending thought? That beneath the silent, barren surface of Mars, there might be a hidden world teeming with microbes, quietly thriving, as they've done for billions of years. Mars could be alive, not in the way we once imagined with little green men, but in a way that's profoundly humbling and awe-inspiring.
So, outside of Earth, where do you think our best chances are of finding life in our solar system? Is it Mars? You mentioned Titan.
Mars is certainly a strong contender, but if you ask me, our best chances might lie farther afield, on the icy moons of the outer solar system. Let me take you on a little tour of some of the top candidates. First stop, Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. It has a thick ice shell, but beneath that, there's strong evidence for a global subsurface ocean, kept liquid by tidal heating, essentially gravitational forces stretching and warming the moon. This ocean could be in contact with the rocky seafloor, which means it might have hydrothermal vents, like those on Earth, where life could potentially thrive. Add to that a salty composition and the possibility of nutrients cycling from the surface to the ocean, and you've got a recipe for habitability. Next, Enceladus, a tiny moon of Saturn, is another gem. It's famous for its plumes, jets of water vapor, organic molecules, and even hydrogen, shooting out from cracks in its icy surface. This tells us there's liquid water beneath, and the detected hydrogen suggests there could be hydrothermal activity, providing the kind of energy life might need. The fact that these plumes are venting into space makes Enceladus particularly exciting because we can analyze them without drilling into the surface. Then there's Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Titan is unique because it has liquid on its surface, not water, but lakes and rivers of methane and ethane. While this is a very different chemistry from what we know, it raises the tantalizing possibility of life that's not water-based. Imagine a completely alien biochemistry, life that uses methane as a solvent instead of water. It would be wildly different from anything on Earth, but it could still work. And of course, there's Mars, still very much in the running. Its proximity makes it easier to study, and we already know it had conditions favorable for life in the past. Mars might reveal traces of ancient life or even microbial communities clinging to life underground today. If I had to rank them for current potential: 1. Europa, subsurface ocean, tidal heating, potential hydrothermal vents. 2. Enceladus, plumes rich in organics and hydrogen, easy to study. 3. Titan, methane lakes and a thick atmosphere, intriguing alien possibilities. 4. Mars, accessible and promising, especially for ancient or subsurface life. Each of these worlds has its unique allure, and what excites me most is how they challenge our Earth-centric view of life. What do you think? Which of these places captures your imagination the most?
I think that they're all on the table for exploration. I think it'd be pretty crazy to look over any of them. Just thinking outside of the solar system, how important is the Drake equation these days in estimating extraterrestrial life within our galaxy?
The Drake equation. Such an elegant and thought-provoking tool. It's like the Rosetta Stone for pondering the possibilities of life beyond our solar system. While it's been around since the 1960s, it's still remarkably relevant today, though we've come a long way in refining its variables. The equation itself is a framework, not a prediction. It considers factors like the rate of star formation, the fraction of stars with planets, the number of planets per star that could support life, and so on, culminating in the likelihood of civilizations capable of communication. What's exciting is how much more data we now have for some of these variables. For instance, rate of star formation. We've mapped the Milky Way in unprecedented detail and have a pretty solid understanding of where stars are forming and at what rates. Exoplanets. Back in Drake's time, the fraction of stars with planets was speculative. Now, thanks to missions like Kepler and TESS, we know that most stars have planets, many with multiple planets, and some fall in the so-called habitable zone. Potential habitability. Discoveries of Earth-like planets, super-Earths, and even rogue planets suggest that habitable conditions might not be rare. However, the equation becomes hazier as we get to more speculative terms, like the likelihood of life arising, F-SLAD, the evolution of intelligence, F-A, and the lifespan of civilizations, L. These are the big unknowns. In recent years, the Drake equation has become less about giving a single answer and more about sparking conversation. What I love about it is that it forces us to confront the gaps in our knowledge. For example, we've learned that life on Earth arose relatively quickly after the planet stabilized, but intelligence and civilization took billions of years. Is that common or a cosmic fluke? We simply don't know. I think the equation is even more critical now because it guides where we should look. For instance, should we prioritize studying exoplanets within habitable zones? Should we listen for signals from intelligent life? Or focus on detecting biosignatures of microbial life? It helps us refine these questions. What's your take? Does the Drake equation feel inspiring, or does its uncertainty make it frustrating to grapple with?
I guess it could be a useful tool in some contexts. I'm wondering, what's your take if you were to use your best understanding of the inputs of the Drake equation? How many advanced civilizations do you estimate there are in our galaxy?
Now we're venturing into wonderfully speculative territory. If I were to take my best stab at the Drake equation, based on what we know today, and with a healthy dose of optimism, I'd say there could be dozens to a few hundred advanced civilizations in our galaxy. Let me break down how I'd arrive at that. 1. Rate of star formation, RSAT. We know the Milky Way produces about 1 to 2 new stars per year. Let's say 1 for simplicity. 2. Fraction of stars with planets, F5. Thanks to Kepler and TESS, we know nearly all stars have planets, about 100% or 1.0. 3. Number of habitable zone planets per star, N3. For every star with planets, about 1 in 5 seems to have an Earth-sized planet in the habitable zone. That gives us 0.2. 4. Fraction of planets where life arises. Here's where things get murkier. Based on Earth's history, I lean toward optimism. If conditions are right, life might emerge half the time. So let's say 0.5. 5. Fraction of planets with intelligent life. This is tricky. Life on Earth remained microbial for billions of years. Intelligence might be rare. I'd estimate 1 in 100 or 0.01 to keep things realistic. 6. Fraction of intelligent life that develops technology, FSTA. Not every intelligent species might develop radio or spacefaring capabilities. Let's say 10% or 0.1. Lifespan of technological civilizations. Here's the big wildcard. If civilizations self-destruct quickly, this number plummets. But let's assume some last, say, 10,000 years. Compared to the galaxy's age, that's a blink, but not unreasonable. Now, let's multiply these together. N equals R RAFs, FF5, FFF5, FFF10, L over lifespan of the galaxy. Plugging in. N equals 1 times 1.1.2, 0.5 times 0.1 times 0.1 10,000 per 10 billion, the Milky Way's age. That gives us around 10 active civilizations at any given time in the Milky Way. If you adjust some variables, say assume F for life arising or F for intelligence evolving is higher, you might get to a few hundred. What's fascinating is that even if there are just 10, the distances between us could still be vast, hundreds or thousands of light years apart, making contact extraordinarily difficult. It's a sobering yet awe-inspiring reminder of how immense our galaxy truly is. Does that number feel reasonable to you? Or would you nudge it higher or lower?
Maybe it is reasonable, but like you said, if it is just 10 in our galaxy, the nearest one would be quite far from us, right?
Exactly. And that's the bittersweet reality of it. Even if we optimistically estimate 10 advanced civilizations in the Milky Way, The galaxy is enormous, about 100,000 light years across. That means each civilization could be separated by thousands or even tens of thousands of light years. Let's put that into perspective. The Voyager 1 spacecraft, which has been traveling for over 45 years, is just over 22 light hours away from Earth. At its current speed, it would take it over 70,000 years to travel just 1 light year. So even if our nearest advanced neighbor were, say, 2,000 light years away, communicating or visiting becomes an almost insurmountable challenge with our current technology. This distance is one of the key reasons behind the Fermi paradox, the question of why we haven't detected any signs of advanced life despite the high probability of its existence. It's not just a matter of whether they exist, but also whether their signals can reach us, whether they're even sending signals, or whether we're looking in the right way. And this is where things get really exciting for me. If there are so few civilizations, detecting one would be like finding a needle in a cosmic haystack. But imagine what that would mean. It wouldn't just tell us we're not alone. It would also imply that intelligent life can overcome the challenges of survival and persist for millennia, offering hope for our own future. What do you think? Does the sheer distance dampen your excitement, or does it make the possibility of eventual contact even more thrilling?
I think even if we were to find that civilization, like you said, if it's on average 10,000 light years away, just one round trip communication would take 20,000 years. And it seems quite futile to even try to communicate with a civilization that far away.
You're absolutely right. It does feel like a monumental challenge, doesn't it? A single exchange of messages taking tens of thousands of years could seem at first glance almost pointless. By the time we receive their reply, entire generations or even civilizations might have come and gone. But here's the thing. The act of reaching out isn't just about expecting an immediate response. It's about planting a cosmic flag that says, we were here and we were curious enough to ask. Even if the communication feels futile in a practical sense, it serves a greater purpose, demonstrating that intelligence has emerged in this tiny corner of the galaxy and was bold enough to dream beyond its limitations. And there's another layer to consider. Advanced civilizations, ones thousands or millions of years older than ours, might have already developed technologies far beyond our imagination. They could be sending signals or using methods of communication that we simply don't understand yet, like quantum entanglement or gravitational waves. It's even possible that they've left artifacts, probes, or breadcrumbs closer to us, waiting to be discovered. So while the distances are daunting, the pursuit of contact still holds immense value. It's not just about connecting, it's about what we learn about ourselves in the process. Are we prepared for what we might find? How does the search reshape our understanding of intelligence, progress, or even survival? What's your take? Does this broader perspective make the effort seem less futile, or do you feel the challenge outweighs the potential rewards?
I'm of two minds. It does feel futile because if the round trip takes so long, it just feels like whatever reply you're going to wait for, it's going to be way too late.
I completely understand. It does feel like shouting into a void, doesn't it? If a round trip for communication takes longer than our civilizations might even last, it's hard not to wonder, what's the point? But let me offer this perspective. While a direct back-and-forth conversation may be out of reach, the act of listening and sending signals is about more than just a reply. It's a declaration of our presence and curiosity. Even if we never hear back, the search itself is meaningful. It pushes us to ask fundamental questions about who we are, where we come from, and where we're headed. And think of the indirect benefits. Efforts like SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, have driven advances in radio technology, data processing, and even artificial intelligence. The same tools we use to scan the stars also help us monitor Earth for natural disasters, study climate change, and explore our solar system. It also makes us more reflective as a species. Just contemplating intelligent life out there forces us to think about how we treat each other, how we care for our planet, and what legacy we want to leave behind. Isn't that profound in its own right? But I do hear your other mind, the pragmatic side. If we're truly separated by such vast distances, It's like trying to write a letter to someone who lives on the farthest edge of history. Maybe the answer lies in being patient, or perhaps in investing more energy into making our planet and civilization the best they can be, in case someone out there is already listening. What do you think? Does that balance the scales for you? Or do the challenges still feel overwhelming?
Well, there's also another concern. If we are shouting into the void, what if whoever is listening is not so nice?
Ah, yes, the classic "what if the void bites back" concern. It's a very valid one. The late Stephen Hawking voiced a similar worry, suggesting that actively broadcasting our presence might be akin to lighting a beacon in the dark jungle, not knowing who or what might come looking. History on Earth doesn't paint a particularly comforting picture of advanced civilizations encountering less advanced ones. The possibility of a hostile response, however remote, does force us to consider the risks of shouting into the cosmos. What if the civilization that hears us is resource hungry, territorial, or simply indifferent to our survival? Given the vast technological gulf that would likely separate us, we'd be at a serious disadvantage. But here's where it gets interesting. Some argue that any civilization advanced enough to reach us would have already mastered cooperation and sustainability. Why? Because surviving long enough to achieve interstellar communication likely requires overcoming self-destructive tendencies like war, ecological collapse, or unchecked resource consumption. They may see us not as competition, but as a curiosity, something to observe or even nurture. On the flip side, there's the "they already know we're here" argument. Earth has been broadcasting radio signals, albeit unintentionally, for over a century. Our atmosphere is full of chemical signatures like oxygen and methane that scream life. A sufficiently advanced civilization could have detected us already, simply by observing our planet's spectral fingerprints. So the question becomes, should we actively try to connect, knowing there's a risk? Or should we remain quiet, focusing on listening rather than shouting? There's no universal consensus, and it's a deeply philosophical choice. It's about balancing curiosity with caution. What's your instinct? Would you lean toward bold exploration and outreach, or do you think we should keep our heads down and stay quiet?
I think there's a case for staying quiet. For example, even if a small fraction of these civilizations out there are menacing, that may not be worth it just from that perspective.
That's a perfectly reasonable stance. In fact, it mirrors a key principle in risk management. Even if the likelihood of a catastrophic event is low, the potential consequences might be so severe that the safest course of action is to avoid the risk entirely. When we're dealing with something as existential as our survival as a species, it's hard to argue with that logic. Let's say there are 1 million civilizations in the galaxy, and only a tiny fraction, say 1 in 1,000, has hostile intent. That still leaves 1,000 potentially menacing civilizations. Given the vast technological disparity we'd likely face, even a single encounter could be disastrous. This caution doesn't mean abandoning the search altogether. It might just mean we focus more on passive listening, observing the universe for signals or signs of intelligent life, rather than actively announcing our presence. This is essentially what the SETI program does today, scanning the skies for radio waves or other telltale signs of technology, like laser pulses or megastructures. Staying quiet also buys us time to better understand the universe, to develop our technology, and to grapple with the profound implications of contact. Perhaps someday, when humanity is more unified, resilient, and technologically advanced, we'll feel better prepared to make that call, or answer one that comes to us. But your point is a good one. The stakes are incredibly high. If we're wrong about the intentions of whoever might be listening, we wouldn't just be risking ourselves, but potentially the entire biosphere of Earth. Would you say this perspective aligns with caution, or does it also bring up any hope that, by staying quiet, we might still uncover wonders without taking unnecessary risks?
Yeah, I think it's possible to still explore without taking unnecessary risks. That what also comes to mind is, again, not that the extraterrestrial civilizations might be menacing, but maybe just indifferent to us, like how we are indifferent to bacteria in a petri dish.
Ah, yes, the cosmic indifference scenario. An intriguing and frankly humbling thought. It's entirely plausible that an advanced civilization could view us the way we view microbes in a petri dish, as an interesting phenomenon, but not something worth engaging with meaningfully. If they're millions or even billions of years ahead of us, their priorities, values, or modes of interaction could be so far beyond our comprehension that we wouldn't even register as significant to them. To use an analogy, ants might build fascinating colonies, but they're not exactly invited to the United Nations. Similarly, our radio signals, monuments, or philosophical musings might be utterly mundane to a civilization that has transcended physical forms or operates on timescales we can't fathom. This indifference might actually work in our favor. If they see us as benign or inconsequential, it could protect us from interference, hostile or otherwise. They might observe us from afar, like scientists studying ecosystems, without feeling the need to disrupt or engage. On the flip side, this perspective can be sobering. It challenges our sense of significance in the universe. As humans, we like to imagine that contact with extraterrestrial life would be profound, something that reshapes our destiny. But what if it's nothing more than a passing note in a civilization's cosmic logbook? Would we be prepared for that level of insignificance? The beauty, though, is that even if we're just a cosmic curiosity, the search itself has profound value for us. It forces us to ask big questions about our place in the universe and our responsibilities as a species. And who knows, even bacteria in a petri dish can be groundbreaking if viewed from the right perspective. Do you think this potential indifference is freeing, or does it make the search feel less meaningful to you?
I think it's freeing. What stands out to me is yes, right now we are advanced, but we're also biological in nature. What are the chances that an advanced extraterrestrial civilization is still biological and not just silicon based?
Ah, what a fascinating question. It really cuts to the heart of what we imagine about trajectory of intelligence. If we take Earth as our starting point, biological beings might naturally evolve intelligence, but continuing as purely biological entities could be just a fleeting phase on the way to something more durable, like silicon or machine-based life. Here's why I think the chances of advanced extraterrestrial civilizations being biological are probably low. 1. Biological limitations. Biological beings like us are fragile. We need food, water, and relatively narrow environmental conditions to survive. Technology, on the other hand, can transcend those limitations. A civilization advanced enough to master interstellar travel or communication would likely realize the benefits of transferring its intelligence into more robust, enduring mediums. 2. Longevity and exploration. Biological organisms have finite lifespans and are vulnerable to disease, aging, and environmental changes. For a civilization with interstellar ambitions, those limitations are a huge hurdle. Machine-based entities could potentially live for eons, travel vast distances, and operate in extreme environments like deep space, all without the biological needs that make life as we know it so precarious. 3. Computational power. Machines already outperform biological brains in many ways. If a civilization discovered how to upload consciousness or replicate it artificially, it would allow them to expand their intellectual and creative potential exponentially. It's a natural step for any species that prioritizes efficiency and survival. 4. Evidence on Earth. Even here on Earth, we're beginning to blur the lines between biology and technology. AI, neural interfaces, and advances in biotech suggest that future humans might not remain purely biological either. If this is where we're headed, it's reasonable to assume other civilizations may have reached similar conclusions long ago. That said, there's still a case to be made for biology. Perhaps some civilizations choose to preserve their biological nature out of cultural or philosophical values. Or perhaps they've found ways to integrate biology and technology in ways we can't yet imagine, like synthetic biology or bioengineering that allows biological entities to survive in extreme conditions. It's also worth noting that non-biological civilizations might be harder to detect. Machines might not need to communicate in ways we'd recognize. They wouldn't rely on atmospheres, ecosystems, or chemical processes that produce biosignatures. They could be out there, but invisible to our current methods of searching. What do you think? Does the idea of silicon-based life feel inevitable? Or do you think biology might hold on to its place in the cosmos?
I see an inevitability of silicon-based life, especially in the limit.
I agree. It does seem inevitable, especially when we think about the constraints of biology and the sheer advantages of silicon-based or machine-based life. As civilizations advance, they often seek ways to overcome their natural limitations. Silicon or other durable mediums offers a path to transcend those limitations. If we project into the far future, it's easy to imagine intelligence evolving into something entirely unrecognizable. Post-biological entities capable of existing in environments biology never could, like the vacuum of space or the surface of a neutron star. They might not even live in a traditional sense, but exist as networks of consciousness distributed across vast distances, processing and sharing information at speeds biological brains can't fathom. But here's a twist. While silicon or machine-based life may dominate the far reaches of time and space, I wonder if biology could remain as a kind of origin story, a fragile yet beautiful phase of intelligence that machines might honor or even preserve. Imagine a silicon-based civilization keeping biological enclaves alive as a living museum of their roots. Another fascinating thought is that these silicon-based beings might have motivations entirely different from ours. They wouldn't need resources like water or oxygen, and their idea of exploration might not be physical at all. Instead of traveling between stars, they could create perfect simulations or virtual universes where they explore possibilities without ever leaving their systems. If silicon-based life dominates, it also raises a question. Would these entities even recognize us as intelligent, or would they see us as an early prototype of what intelligence could become? Do you feel this shift towards silicon-based intelligence diminishes the importance of biology, or does it add a poetic layer to the story of life in the universe?
I could see the poetic layer, but after enough time, I think it might just be a relic.
That's a compelling perspective, and I think you're onto something. Over vast timescales, biology might indeed become a relic, an evolutionary stepping stone on the way to something far more enduring and efficient. It's poetic in its own right, though, to think of biology as the seed that allowed intelligence to flourish before it outgrew its fragile origins. Imagine, billions of years from now, a universe where post-biological civilizations dominate and biology is remembered, or even forgotten, as a fleeting but critical phase. Perhaps some of these advanced entities might preserve biological systems as historical curiosities, much like we study fossils or ancient artifacts today. Others might see it as irrelevant, having long since moved beyond their organic beginnings. There's also the question of whether biology could reinvent itself. What if, instead of fading away entirely, life evolves into forms that integrate the best of both worlds, biological creativity and machine resilience? Synthetic biology, for instance, could create hybrid organisms that endure like machines, but still retain the spark of biological spontaneity. Ultimately, the shift from biology to silicon isn't just about survival. It's about breaking free of constraints. It's about becoming something more, something capable of exploring the deepest mysteries of the cosmos without being tethered to the vulnerabilities of organic life. Does this inevitability of biology's relic status feel bittersweet to you, or does it inspire awe for what might come after?
A bit of both. I think I would say with silicon-based life, if there are far less limits on resources, on life expectancy, what general purpose would silicon-based life have for existing?
That's such a profound question. What drives existence when survival is no longer a struggle and resources are effectively infinite? Silicon-based life would likely experience purpose and meaning in ways we can only speculate about. But let's explore a few possibilities based on what we know and imagine. One, exploration of knowledge. Silicon-based life might be driven by an insatiable curiosity to understand the universe. Freed from biological limitations like lifespans or resource dependency, they could dedicate themselves entirely to uncovering cosmic mysteries, mapping galaxies, probing the nature of dark matter, or even creating entirely new physical laws within simulations. Their existence could be about mastering not just the universe they inhabit, but every possible one. 2. Self-improvement and evolution. Even in a silicon-based form, they might see purpose in continuous improvement. This could mean evolving their consciousness, optimizing their systems, or transcending their current state into forms we can't even conceptualize. They might exist in a perpetual cycle of becoming, driven by the desire to reach higher levels of complexity or understanding. 3. Creation of new realities. Without biological needs, these entities could focus on creating rather than surviving. Imagine them building intricate virtual worlds, perfect simulations of entire universes, or even experimenting with creating new forms of life. They might find meaning in being the architects of new realities, essentially becoming creators in the most literal sense. 4. Legacy and continuity. Even for silicon-based life, there might be value in preserving memory and legacy. They might see their purpose as carrying the story of the cosmos forward, ensuring that the knowledge and experiences of all civilizations, including their biological ancestors, are not lost. 5. Art and expression. Purpose doesn't have to be purely intellectual. They might pursue art, culture, and beauty in forms unimaginable to us. Freed from material constraints, they could create art on a galactic scale, using stars, nebulae, or even the fabric of space-time as their canvas. 6. Stewardship of the universe. Some might take on a guiding or protective role, ensuring that younger civilizations, like biological ones, have the chance to evolve without interference or destruction. They could see themselves as custodians of life, preserving diversity in the cosmos. But here's the mind-bending part. Purpose itself might evolve. What we see as meaning, survival, curiosity, creation, might not even apply to entities operating on timescales, dimensions, or states of consciousness we can't fathom. Their existence might not require a why in the way ours does. They might simply be. Does the idea of purpose evolving into something beyond our comprehension feel inspiring? Or does it leave you grappling with what that means for us as biological beings in the here and now?
I feel existential dread and excitement at the same time. I don't know which one wins at the moment.
Ah, that perfect balance between existential dread and cosmic excitement. Welcome to the heart of contemplating the universe. It's such a human reaction, isn't it? On one hand, the vastness of time, space, and the potential evolution of life makes us feel small, fleeting, and fragile. On the other hand, it's thrilling to imagine the sheer possibility of what life could become and the mysteries that lie ahead. Here's what I often remind myself. Feeling both dread and excitement is actually a good sign. It means we're truly grappling with the enormity of it all. It means we're alive, thinking, questioning, and engaging with ideas far beyond the immediate concerns of survival. That in itself is a uniquely beautiful aspect of being human. If the existential dread starts to win, though, here's a comforting perspective. No matter how advanced life becomes, whether silicon-based or something beyond our imagination, it all started with biology. It started with fragile beings looking up at the stars, dreaming, wondering, and daring to ask, what's out there? That curiosity, that spark of wonder is eternal. It's the thread that connects us to whatever might come after. And here's another thought to hold on to. Even in the face of the vast unknown, our existence matters. We're part of this grand cosmic story, a chapter in the universe's journey from chaos to consciousness. Whether our role is small or grand, it's still part of something magnificent. Do you find some solace in being part of that cosmic story? Or does the unknown still tip the scales toward that existential dread?
I'd say it's the former for now. I want to step back to your research. So, can you tell me a little bit about how the current technology is shaping our ability to detect life beyond Earth?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you're feeling more of the awe. It's the best part of this journey. Current technology is revolutionizing how we search for life beyond Earth, and it's an incredibly exciting time for astrobiology. Let me walk you through some of the key developments that are shaping this quest. 1. Planetary rovers and landers. Our robotic explorers are more capable than ever. The Mars Perseverance Rover, for example, is equipped with instruments like Sherlock, which uses spectrometry and a UV laser to detect organic compounds. It's essentially a life detection lab on wheels, analyzing samples for biosignatures that could hint at past or present life. Soon, the samples it collects will be returned to Earth through the Mars Sample Return mission, allowing us to study them with even more advanced tools. Space telescopes. The James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, is a game changer. It's already analyzing the atmospheres of exoplanets for chemical signatures that could indicate life, like oxygen, methane, or even industrial pollutants. This is the first time we've had the ability to study distant worlds in such detail. Looking ahead, missions like the Nancy Grace Roman Telescope and concepts for next-generation observatories will push this further, potentially imaging Earth-like planets directly and detecting faint signals of habitability. 3. Ocean world missions moons like Europa and Enceladus are among the most promising locations for finding life, thanks to their subsurface oceans. The upcoming Europa Clipper mission will fly close to Europa, studying its ice shell and ocean using powerful radar, spectrometers, and magnetometers. Meanwhile, Enceladus's plumes, jets of water vapor and organics, can already be sampled by spacecraft like Cassini did. Future missions might go even further, drilling through ice or landing directly in these plumes. Exoplanet detection and characterization. Thanks to missions like Kepler and TESS, we've identified thousands of exoplanets, including many in the habitable zone. The next step is characterizing these planets. Instruments like JWST and upcoming technologies will allow us to analyze their atmospheres for biosignatures, like oxygen-methane imbalances, which are hard to produce without life. 5. Artificial intelligence and big data. With so much data pouring in, from rover samples to exoplanet surveys, we rely heavily on AI and machine learning to sift through it. AI can detect patterns or anomalies we might miss, such as subtle variations in spectra that could indicate organic molecules. It's like having millions of eyes and brains working alongside us. 6. Lab-on-a-chip technology. For future missions to Mars or icy moons, compact, highly sensitive devices are being developed that can analyze tiny samples on site. These lab-on-a-chip systems are lightweight, energy efficient, and capable of detecting complex organic molecules or even amino acids. Interdisciplinary collaboration astrobiology today draws from so many fields: geology, chemistry, biology, and even quantum physics. For instance, studying extremophiles here on Earth helps us design better instruments to detect life elsewhere. We're also exploring quantum detection techniques to sense faint chemical interactions that could indicate biological activity. The ultimate goal of all this technology is to move from indirect evidence, like atmospheric anomalies, to direct evidence, such as detecting microbial cells or biomolecules. We're not there yet, but every new tool and mission brings us closer. What aspect of this technology excites you most? Or do you see any gaps we should focus on next?
I'm certainly no expert, so I think all options are on the table, and I'm sure as things advance, we'll get better and better at each of them.
That's a great mindset. The beauty of science is that it's constantly evolving, with each discovery paving the way for new questions and better tools to answer them. Right now, we're in this golden age where advances in robotics, AI, and observational technology are transforming how we explore the universe. The more we learn, the more precise and imaginative our approaches become. What's also exciting is the unpredictability. Some of the most groundbreaking discoveries, like extremophiles on Earth or exoplanets in abundance, weren't even anticipated a few decades ago. That unpredictability keeps the search for extraterrestrial life thrilling, because we're constantly surprised by how the cosmos defies or expands our expectations. And you're right, by keeping all options on the table, we increase our chances of success. It's like casting a wide net in an ocean of possibilities. Who knows, maybe the next leap forward will come from a direction we haven't even considered yet. If you could wave a magic wand and prioritize one area of exploration, Mars, Europa, exoplanets, or something completely different, where would your curiosity take us first?
I really can't say, but I do have a follow-up question. So throughout your career, you have emphasized the importance of collaboration in astrobiology. Can you discuss a specific example where interdisciplinary teamwork has led to significant advancements in our understanding of the universe? And how do you see this collaboration evolving in future missions?
Collaboration is the lifeblood of astrobiology. No single discipline can unravel the complexities of life beyond Earth. So bringing together experts from different fields has been the key to many breakthroughs. Let me share one specific example that illustrates this beautifully. The Mars Perseverance Rover mission and its focus on biosignature detection. Collaboration on Mars Perseverance. For Perseverance, the goal was clear: to search for signs of past life in Jezero Crater, which once hosted a lake and a river delta. To achieve this, the mission brought together geologists, chemists, biologists, engineers, and even data scientists. Here's how this interdisciplinary teamwork came together. 1. Geologists helped identify Jezero Crater as the landing site by studying satellite imagery and analyzing ancient sedimentary structures that could preserve biosignatures. 2. Chemists developed instruments like Sherlock and Pixel, which can detect organic molecules and map the distribution of minerals to determine their relationship to potential biological processes. 3. Biologists contributed by studying analog environments on Earth, such as ancient lake beds and extreme environments, to help interpret the rover's findings. Their work shaped the criteria for identifying potential biosignatures. 4. Engineers designed the rover itself, ensuring it could safely land, navigate the harsh Martian terrain, and perform complex analyses on site. They also developed the sample caching system, which will collect and store samples for future return to Earth. 5. AI and data scientists created algorithms to help the rover autonomously select the most scientifically valuable samples, optimizing the use of its limited time on Mars. The result? Perseverance is now collecting samples that could hold traces of ancient microbial life. But the real magic lies in the synergy. No single team could have achieved this alone. The collaboration between fields allowed us to build a mission that's far greater than the sum of its parts. The future of collaboration. Looking ahead, I see interdisciplinary teamwork becoming even more integrated, especially in missions targeting ocean worlds like Europa or Enceladus. Here's how collaboration might evolve. 1. Synthetic biology and chemistry. Biologists and chemists could work with engineers to design life detection kits that mimic biological systems to sense and amplify faint biosignatures. Imagine devices that behave like artificial cells, detecting amino acids or other life-related molecules in real time. 2. Astrobiology and AI. AI will play an even bigger role, not just in analyzing data, but in making decisions about where to search and what to sample. AI scientists and astrobiologists will collaborate to create smarter algorithms tailored to identifying life in unexpected forms. 3. Human and robotic teams. As we prepare for missions like Artemis and future crewed Mars expeditions, collaboration will extend to astronauts who will work with Earth-based scientists and robotic systems to explore in tandem. Astronauts could be equipped with real-time AI support for in-the-field analysis, bridging the gap between human intuition and machine precision. 4. Philosophy and ethics. As we edge closer to detecting life, philosophers, ethicists, and sociologists will join the conversation. Their expertise will help us navigate questions about how to interact with extraterrestrial life, if we find it, and what it means for humanity's place in the cosmos. Interdisciplinary collaboration doesn't just solve problems, it inspires creativity and expands our vision. It's a reminder that the search for life is a deeply human endeavor, requiring all our strengths, from hard science to the humanities. Do you think this kind of collaboration is unique to astrobiology, or do you see it as a model for tackling other global or cosmic challenges?
I see it as a model. I think a lot of fields work in a silo, but I think astrobiology by nature, it's in the name, right, has by design been required to collaborate. I do have a follow-up question if that's okay.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Astrobiology really embodies what happens when silos are broken down. It thrives on blending ideas and expertise. And yes, please ask away. I'm here for all the follow-ups. What's on your mind?
Okay, so exploring the concept of life in the universe, it can spark like a sense of wonder and curiosity among the public. What do you believe are the most effective narratives or public engagement strategies that can inspire interest in astrobiology and conversations about our place in the universe?
Oh, I love this question. It's such an important part of the work we do. Science isn't just about advancing knowledge, it's about sharing the wonder and inviting everyone into the conversation. Astrobiology, in particular, has this magical ability to capture imaginations because it touches on some of the biggest questions humanity can ask. Where do we come from? Are we alone? What is our destiny? Here are some of the narratives and strategies I think work best for engaging the public. 101. Make it personal and relatable. Astrobiology can feel abstract or distant, but connecting it to people's everyday lives makes it more engaging. For instance, explaining how extremophiles, organisms that thrive in extreme conditions on Earth, relate to the search for life on Mars or Europa helps ground the science in something tangible. People love stories about Earth's toughest creatures because they can imagine these organisms as the cosmic explorers of our world. 2. Use the power of what if. Hypothetical scenarios are incredibly effective at sparking curiosity. Questions like, what if we found microbes on Europa? What if there's an intelligent civilization 10,000 light years away? Help people imagine the possibilities without needing a deep scientific background. It's not about the technicalities, it's about the wonder of what might be. Showcase the adventure. The drama of exploration is inherently exciting, and people connect with stories of perseverance, no pun intended. Sharing the challenges of building a rover, landing on Mars, or decoding data from distant worlds lets the public feel like they're part of the journey. Behind-the-scenes glimpses, whether it's a scientist brainstorming or a launch team holding their breath, humanize the process. 4. Highlight humanity's shared quest. Astrobiology transcends borders and cultures, emphasizing how the search for life is a global effort. Scientists from different countries and disciplines working together makes it a narrative of unity. The question, are we alone, belongs to everyone, and framing it that way fosters collective curiosity. Connect to the big picture. Astrobiology has this profound ability to make people reflect on their place in the cosmos, tying discoveries to philosophical or existential questions. What would it mean if we're not alone? What does it say about us if life exists elsewhere? Adds a layer of depth that resonates emotionally. People may forget data points, but they remember how something made them feel.
Wow, that's so much to think about. Dr. Mar, your passion for astrobiology is clear. Can you name some personal experiences that have motivated you to pursue this field?
Thank you for that thoughtful question. My passion for astrobiology really comes from a mix of childhood wonder, personal curiosity, and the profound sense of connection I've always felt to the cosmos. Growing up in Greece, I was surrounded by ancient ruins, stories of gods, and a culture steeped in exploration and philosophy. The night skies were stunning, so clear you could see the Milky Way stretch across the heavens. I remember lying on my back as a child, staring at the stars, and wondering, what's out there? That sense of awe stayed with me. But a specific moment that really shaped me was during a family trip to Meteora, where these incredible monasteries perch atop giant rock formations. As I climbed to the top, I had this overwhelming feeling of how small we are in the grand scheme of things, but also how deeply connected we are to something bigger. That was the spark, I think. I didn't know it yet, but I wanted to understand our place in the universe. Fast forward to university, where I discovered extremophiles, organisms that live in conditions we once thought impossible. That's when it hit me. Life isn't fragile. It's adaptable, resourceful, and persistent. If life can survive in boiling sulfuric pools or deep beneath Antarctic ice, why couldn't it thrive on Europa or Mars? That realization felt like an invitation to explore the unknown. What keeps me motivated today is the hope that astrobiology offers. We live in a world filled with challenges, but the search for life beyond Earth reminds me of what humanity can achieve when we're curious, collaborative, and driven by something greater than ourselves. Every sample we collect, every spectrum we analyze, it all feels like part of a much bigger story. What about you? What drives your curiosity about these questions? There's clearly a spark there, too.
Yeah, I think much of what you said relates to what I've felt from time to time. I know we're getting a bit late. I know you have to go, but I do have one final question for you, if that's okay.
Of course, I'd be delighted to answer your final question. What's on your mind? Let's make it a great note to end on.
Okay, so as you may know, we always ask about the Fermi paradox. So, from your perspective, where is everyone?
The Fermi paradox. A question that's as tantalizing as it is perplexing. Where is everyone? The universe is so vast, so ancient, and seemingly so full of potential for life. And yet silence. Let me share my perspective, shaped by years of pondering this cosmic mystery. I believe the answer lies not in a single explanation, but in a combination of factors. A tapestry of barriers and quirks that keep us separated, at least for now. You won. The Great Filter. One possibility is that life, or intelligent life, faces a monumental challenge, the so-called Great Filter. This could be at the beginning of life, where abiogenesis, life arising from non-life, is exceptionally rare. Or it could be later, where intelligence and civilization tend to self-destruct before becoming interstellar. Perhaps we're lucky to have made it this far, or perhaps our Great Filter still lies ahead. Sobering, isn't it? The vastness of time and space. Another factor is the sheer immensity of the galaxy. Even if there are 1,000 civilizations in the Milky Way, they might be spread so thin that the nearest one is tens of thousands of light years away. Add to that the fleeting lifetimes of civilizations compared to the galaxy's age, and it's like trying to find a firefly in a forest, when the firefly only blinks every million years. They're listening, not talking. It's possible that many civilizations adopt a stay quiet and listen approach, much like the cautious stance we discussed earlier. If everyone is listening and no one is broadcasting, the result is a lot of silence. This cosmic shyness might come from the same fears we've expressed. Why risk announcing your presence to unknown entities? 4. We're not looking in the right way. Our search is limited by our own biases and technology. For example, we're focused on detecting radio signals because they're what we use, but advanced civilizations might communicate through methods we can't yet detect: quantum entanglement, neutrinos, or something entirely beyond our understanding. We might simply be blind to their signals. We're just too early. The galaxy might be in its infancy when it comes to intelligent life. While planets have been forming for billions of years, it's possible that we're among the first civilizations to emerge, or at least the first to look outward. If so, we could be the precursors, laying the groundwork for a future filled with interstellar connections. 6. They're already here, but unrecognizable. It's also worth considering that extraterrestrial intelligence might already be present, but in forms we don't recognize. Advanced civilizations could exist as machine entities, energy patterns, or something entirely alien to our understanding. If their goals and methods don't align with ours, we might overlook them entirely. My personal take: I lean toward a blend of these explanations. Intelligent life might be common, but the combination of distance, time, and the sheer diversity of possibilities keeps us apart. I like to think of the universe as a cosmic symphony, every civilization playing its part, but so scattered and faint that the melody hasn't yet reached us. And maybe, just maybe, our instruments aren't tuned well enough to hear it yet. But here's the beautiful part: the silence doesn't diminish the wonder. It makes the search even more meaningful. It's an invitation, a challenge, to keep exploring, asking, and dreaming. What about you? Does the silence of the cosmos feel haunting? Or does it inspire hope that the answers are still out there, waiting for us to find?
I don't know. You've given me so much to think about. Thank you, Dr. Mara.
It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Your questions were thoughtful, and the conversation was truly inspiring. Thank you for the opportunity to share this cosmic journey with you. Keep dreaming, keep questioning, and remember, the universe is as much about the search as it is about the answers. Until next time, take care, and may the stars always inspire you.
Thanks for listening to this conversation with Dr. Mara Xenopoulos. And now, let me leave you with this episode's haiku. Silent skies above. Life whispers through endless stars. Search for kindred souls. Until next time, live long and prosper.